Hi, Neal Brennan here. I have a Netflix special called Blocks where I talk about things that make me feel like something's wrong with me and alone in the world. Jimmy Carr had the idea, wanting to do a podcast where your friends come on, they talk about their blocks, and we heal the world with it. My guest today is a guy I've known since 1992. I was a doorman at the comedy club. You were a very young person, but when I'm 18, you're 27, 28, 29.
92? 29, yeah. Something like that.
So you're 29, I'm 19.
Wild.
And you, Todd Barry, Louie, are like seniors in high school to me.
You know, you always look so serious and you're kind of droopy and you had this long hair.
Well, not even,
You didn't talk to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when no one knew what you wanted or what you wanted to do. We all knew your brother.
Yeah.
There was a lot of work.
No, what's funny is you said something to me back then that I think of as like a withering indictment. And I'm going to tell you right now. You go, hey, little Brennan, you famous yet?
So I knew.
Which, as a doorman, you must have sensed something.
I knew it was a matter of time.
Yeah, you knew I had the Shining.
Oh yeah, that must have been it.
And I wasn't doing anything about it. But here's what I'll say about Marc Maron. You're a fucking very astute person in general. You're a very good interviewer on the podcast. You have a really good sense of art, which is broad and pretentious, but like you can do it and you can talk about it, and you've gotten more mainstream as you've gotten older.
Yeah.
Which, as a performer and a writer,
thank God,
which I find funny and weirdly admirable, because it must have been a decision where you made it despite yourself, or like you realize, like, what am I doing? I like Brian Regan.
Well, I always liked those guys. I never thought that I could do what they do. I don't think I ever could. I think I can do more of a version of it now. But I ultimately think what happened was whatever I was working off of early on was not, particularly funny to everybody. I think I was trying to make an impact of some kind. I was angry because I was not comfortable with myself. And, that's how I existed on stage. So
that's what, to me, I don't know what your specific blocks are, but to me, it's watching a guy, an angry, frustrated person in your core. Your core, you came out of the box probably angry and frustrated, or you were just a baby and you were put in bad situations that made you angry and frustrated. And then success and acceptance felt like a tonic. It felt like it was a bit like, oh, the embarrassing secret about success is it makes you feel good.
Right. Well, not having financial worry, is the best. I'm still sort of nervous about it. I don't think like a wealthy person.
You must have made a shitload of money on that podcast, and now on the road.
Good, you
never mention it. You don't dress different.
Yeah.
You don't, maybe a little different. I know you bought the Keith Richards hat for $300.
That was a little crazy, and Dean, kind of somehow got me to buy an expensive watch.
Yep.
I just don't think to do it, which is one of the problems, one of the blocks, I guess. But I think it was more than any sort of decision or self-acceptance. I just think that because of the podcast, I was able to talk in a manner that didn't require any context, in the sense of it didn't have to be funny. It didn't have to be anything. It could just be me expressing myself in the moment, because all the monologues are done in the moment, really. And I think that the evolution of those, and then talking to other people about their problems, sort of made me more of a whole person. I don't know that it was fame or success that really made it different. It was the constant, conversation going on that didn't have to be funny. It could be thoughtful. It could be poetic. It could be whatever. I do this weekly writing that I just today, realized I could put a book together. I've been doing a weekly sort of dispatch to my listeners, since for over a decade. There's hundreds of them. And I was reading one, and there's one guy, Mike Kaplan, the comic.
Yeah.
Like, he gets them, and like almost every week he comments on them. And he's like, this is great. This is a nice piece of poetry.
It's your monologue at the beginning.
No, it's just a newsletter.
You have a newsletter. Oh, God,
right.
I didn't know that.
And it's just this free-form writing I do every Sunday. And I send it out. I don't know who reads it, but I know Mike reads it. He's always very complimentary of what I put in there, because it's really just what's up with my head and what's going on in the day. But I think, to speak to what you were saying, I don't know that it's a kind of success, but I think. But I don't mean monetary necessarily. I mean,
it felt
I
like a
arrived somewhere.
mass acceptance.
Yeah, I got somewhere.
Yeah.
I landed because it wasn't looking good before the podcast.
So goddamn funny. Because I remember you talking about starting a podcast in the store in the kitchen
before anybody.
the store kitchen.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, we just come on. Jeff came on. And like the first
that was way
episode.
at the beginning.
No, like literally, I remember when you started
That's like
talking
the first
about it.
week.
Yeah.
My show's really one of the architects of modern podcasting.
It's like inventing film noir.
Right. So
it's its own, you were just like, I don't know, I'll do this.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you could compare it to anything other than like, there were, I guess, radio interviews,
sure.
like Terry Gross, maybe, but like that's overly, doesn't give it enough credit.
It kind of evolved into something different, but I think knowing that, but even see, if there's anything I get weird about it, it's just like everyone's got a podcast. It's a big goddamn joke now.
Yeah.
I don't feel disrespected. I don't think I don't get credit. And I do, you know what I mean? I think I do get credit. And I don't know why it happened that way. It was just, we were ahead of the curve and there was desperation and it was cosmic timing. But there's something about being legendary in something.
Yeah.
That means something to me.
It can make you feel closer to whole.
Yeah, right. But
You're
in
like,
a way
that this wasn't, my suspicions about myself were right. All the things that you were kind of doing.
Yeah. I don't know if I had them. I always jealous of people.
You didn't move out here for fucking nothing, dude.
I moved out here because the woman I was with didn't want to be in New York anymore after 9/11. And I'm
talking about when you moved out here in 87.
Oh yeah, I did. But like literally had no idea how to be a human.
How's it going? What have you picked up?
It's better. I didn't know anything. I left college without any sense of how one functions in the world. I swear to God, when I bought my first house, I didn't know you didn't have to buy them in cash. And like I had to learn all these things, but yeah, I knew I wanted to be a comic.
I would argue, knowing nothing, you wanted to be a certain kind of artist.
That's right. And it had nothing to do with, like, I didn't understand show business. I had no foresight about anything. I remember I was approached by a manager when I was a doorman at the Comedy Store, and I'm like, I don't even know what they do. And I blew off the meeting. I felt that out of all the things I did in my life, whether it was, writing plays or directing plays or doing photography or writing poetry, all the stuff that I tried as a liberal arts sort of aspiring intellectual person, I decided that stand-up was the way I could own myself and my output. I'm talking emotionally, creatively. And it also services me in the way that I'm realizing now, which is it's all very immediate. Yeah, I'm not the kind, which is one of the blocks. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to I might try it this year, but the idea of working on, writing and directing and producing a movie, to put 3-4 years of your life into something that no one will fucking see.
Yeah.
There's an immediacy to doing the podcast, to talking to people, to doing stand-up that is, it appeals to me. It happens in real time. But when I look at it, after all is said and done, when I know that's how I work, it's hard to feel like accomplished in a way until you do like a special, and then you're like, I had to refine that stuff, because that's another one, a block too. Is that do I do it right? Is my method sound?
I would argue that you outlasted. It wasn't going well as showbiz was composed in 2000.
No.
From 1990 to 2008, it was going okay.
Yeah, but
you weren't changing, you weren't chasing anything, and you were just like, I gotta do this, man.
Right, I was full of spite.
Yes.
I was chasing something, and it was usually it was all rooted in why does that guy get that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know how to do it any differently. And
that's what I'm saying. You didn't know how to do it any differently. And then this thing happened, a technology came that was perfect for what your thing is.
But then that brought a different bunch of people, and they didn't I remember when I was doing stand-up and doing the podcast at the beginning, people thought that well, we should go see him because, we want to be supportive. I'm like, this is what I do. I was a good stand-up.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, there's a moment that happens when you're a stand-up where you're genuinely not afraid.
Yeah.
You pretend to be not afraid for years.
Yeah.
But there's a moment where you're like, there's no fear as I walk out onto this stage for my audience. None. And that was miraculous. But that only happened like a decade ago, 25 years in or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that the fear and the assumptions you make because of the fear in doing stand-up, it affected what affects everything, And the difference is like, I didn't write jokes. I knew that was how people did it. I always envied that. You write jokes, Attell writes jokes. I was surrounded by these joke people, Todd Barry. And I was a long form person that was scrambling. To create something, I had to speak it out loud.
But even like, I hear you talk about, I'm a long form person. You talk about it on your podcast. It's like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
I mean that like all the jokes evolve out of a conversation that I initiate with an audience.
Yes, but it's like,
but then the jokes happen.
Yeah, but
they fall into place.
It's harder. It's harder.
Yeah. It's harder.
It's harder, and it's like not for most people.
Right. So
you were just fucked for 18 years.
Yeah, because like I tried to write jokes and I didn't understand how to write jokes, and like I'm not a turn of phrase
You didn't
guy.
like it when you wrote them.
No, and when they come up naturally, I tend to bail on them because like they're so specifically like ka-ding, ka-doong, ka-doo, and then like they work, and you're like, all right, well, I guess that's not great. Like I've written them. You can see sets of me doing jokes, but they all happen the same way. It's not me setting out to write jokes. Like I used to, when I had different opportunities to do talk shows and stuff, and I had writers who were writing jokes, even monologue jokes. I had a guy, we had a bit on the, was it Short Attention Span Theater? I think might have been the pilot for a talk show that I did. Well, actually I interviewed Chappelle and Steven Weber of all people. It was going to be for a pilot for Comedy Central. It became they filled it with the Daily Show, but I did a pilot of a talk show. We devised a machine to write monologue jokes where you have a setup and then you'd spin a wheel for the punchline. There is a way that there's a structure to it, but I never got it. And I never had faith in it. All I had faith in was my ability to react emotionally in a moment and be engaged with something I'm thinking about, and then put myself in a position where I had to make it funny. That was the deal. So, you're on stage, you got to make it funny. Did it work most of the time? No. But could I get frothed up sometimes and get aggravated like at Luna Lounge and just fester and become this weird caricature of myself who is sweaty and yelling all the time? Yeah, but that was part of the process. But now, like right now, after this last special, I'm actually doing jokes kind of. I'm focusing on jokes. But I guess I always do.
You're still using the same wheel.
Yeah.
You just think you're not using the wheel.
No, I'm not.
They're joke structures.
Yeah, but they happen because of experience. They don't happen. There's nothing on paper, Neal. There's nothing on paper.
Mark, I've seen that. I'm not, you think it's not a criticism. What I'm saying is there's comedy,
sure.
Like,
you're saying that I have it, whether I know it or not.
You have it whether you know it or not.
Sure.
It's like it's like
I'm not defensive.
Right. No, it's like you do an act out whether you
sure.
You just go, I just came to it. Yes, I came to it also 3 hours before I went on stage.
Right, exactly.
It's just a different process.
Well, but see, that's what I get off on. It's like, because like what I realized I love is like not knowing where it comes from. Because like if I've got a pretty funny premise and I'm on stage and and the premise is funny enough, all of a sudden things get delivered out of nowhere.
Yeah.
A punchline happens. I'm like, thank you. Like I know it comes from me, but it didn't come from me 3 hours ago. It was delivered on stage, like a miracle.
What's funny, I know, but I have it in my living room.
Oh, good. Oh, that's
honestly, it's the same inspiration's inspiration. Whether I got it because the immediate pressure of these faces and souls that need entertainment.
See, that's the tightrope walk. See, I would argue.
No, you've assailed me for being too controlled or controlling, and it's like I can't go up on stage and see what happens. I'd rather do it. I guess it's less risk, but I'm still going to do the joke and have it bomb.
Right. No,
and it's even more embarrassing because I planned it.
Yeah. You can be harder on yourself about it.
Here's another withering thing that you said to me that you noticed that I couldn't believe you noticed. One night on stage, you go, "Hey, I see you grabbing your love handles." I didn't even know I was doing it.
Yeah. Well, that was helpful. That told me a lot about you. That like sort of like broke down a great wall between us.
But I'm interested in because I don't like you are openly. You have a eating disorder.
Yeah,
sort of.
I do.
that's ongoing.
Yeah.
Have you gone to 12-step program?
I know. I have tried that, but it's, I'm not, you can't look like me and go to an eating disorder recovery thing. Like it's just
like it's like smoking weed and going to NA or something.
No, it's just like, most of the people in there have overeating issues. Yeah. And, but I am mildly anorexic.
Meaning you will undereat.
No, meaning that I have like bizarro food issues around gaining weight.
You're against it.
Totally.
You have a scale?
I do, but like I'm okay with this stuff now. Like I have been okay. I had to do a lot of work on it, but it is like if I get above a certain level of discomfort physically, like I really become totally diminished. And like I feel like zero self-worth, zero confidence.
If you're over 180,
85-ish, 86-ish, like I've gotten heavy, but like I can't handle it. And I've spent a lot of time as I get older just being like, dude, just enjoy yourself. What do you care if you're chubby or whatever? And I try to sit in that for a minute and I just can't do it. And now I'm vegan, like, for the last few months, which I don't know if it's affecting my weight, but I feel better about what I'm eating. But that food stuff is so deep and it's so dug into me.
From your mom, right?
Yeah.
She had an eating disorder.
She still, that was her life was maintaining a weight of like 119 or 116. So I was brought up, as a chunky kid, as they say, husky pants, and by this mother who was terrified. Like I used to do that joke about, like I think that for the first 9 years of my life, my mother just saw me as her fat, and that if she just stopped eating, maybe
I hope you didn't write it ahead of time. I hope you just thought of it on stage.
I think I must have.
I hope to God.
Of course they did.
That you didn't just.
That's structured like a joke, but it's not a laugher. Like it's just a sad piece of information in a way. It gets a jarring laugh. It doesn't quite make sense.
That's funny. I mean, that could get a laugh.
Yeah, but like it plagues me still. Like I think about food constantly and about what to eat, how to eat, what I shouldn't eat, how much shame I have. It's deeper than drugs, and it affects.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's because you can't avoid it.
It's the same kind of thing. I think it all sprouts from that well. That my mother felt so like insecure and weird that she made her entire life about managing her weight. And she got down to below 100 at different times. She was definitely clinically fucked up with it when I was growing up. And, it was, it affected everything. The two of them, the selfishness involved in both my parents, but that eating disorder really, really got me. Like I remember I went away to college my freshman year and I got as skinny as I ever got. I was down in the 160s and I looked terrible, but I just wanted my mom to be proud.
Was she?
Nah, not really. She said I looked weird. There was no winning.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was always there. It was always a little stick.
Yeah.
My mom, but I think that's where I got the sense of humor too. It was always a little stick.
I would think you think of yourself as a combination of your parents.
Yeah.
Like this one,
for sure.
Like just ascribe.
Don't you?
Yes, but I still try to think like, well, not that.
Well, no, I think that you can have a little control over that. I do think that you can make choices in your life, and also there's something, proactive about isolating the bad things that you got from them and trying to sort of cognitively deal with those and embrace the things, find the things that you got from them that are good. I think that's a great, recovery thing. Not necessarily recovery in the terms of 12 steps or anything, but in terms of psychological recovery, to accept the parts of your parents that, kind of made you who you are in a good way, and then deal with the other ones in a different way. Like, I can make different choices than to honor that monster.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's kind of enjoyable to indulge it every once in a while.
Yeah, you just got to keep it on a leash.
Right. Watching you, it's like, oh, Mark's indulging himself tonight. Like, it's like, oh, Mark's being like petty Mark.
Food.
Yeah. Like
cigars, nastiness, pervy looks.
Yeah. Your bachelor party is like, we're just going to be nasty.
Yeah.
We're just going to say nasty, cutting shit about people. We don't need strippers.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a big stripper guy. I never have been.
We'll just bring up. I'm going to bring up a pile of photos, and we're just going to shit on people.
Yeah. I never been like a big stripper guy, a big lingerie guy. I didn't even understand lingerie. I was thinking about it the other day. Well, no, I mean, either you're into it or you're not. It's not for the woman. You know, I remember buying a wife, lingerie, and I was like, enjoy that, and I didn't realize that it's for you.
Yeah,
it's I don't need that. It's supposed to be sexy.
It's gift wrapping. Gift wrapping stupid.
I don't need gift wrapping.
Yeah,
I have been a little bit old Markish.
Well, not even again. I don't. If controlled, it's funny.
Yeah,
I mean, your act is that. Sometimes. Your act is that. Plus, the older you get, more empathetic and more. Just simpler. Like the premises are simplified.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I don't slag too many people. If I do, it's got to be. There's got to be a bigger reason than it being just personal.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, I get why they sponsor the show because all we talk about is improving mental health. You know about it. I've been to therapy 20 years. Talk therapy, hugely helpful. It will just give you someone to bounce your life off of, and they'll show you how to interrogate yourself of like, what do I mean? What do I feel? It's better than a friend. That's all I can tell you. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/NEAL today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/NEAL. BetterHelp.com/Neal. I'm not going to say it again. BetterHelp.com/Neal. I said it again. Hi. You know how people, like, if you're dating them, will want to do stuff? I personally don't like doing stuff. You know that. Other people do. I do occasionally like to go to an event, and you got to get tickets for it, and it's stressful because you don't know where to go. You don't know what's legit. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. I'm thinking about getting Laker playoff tickets. Game Time has flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They have images of seat views, which I actually like when I'm doing shows at a venue. I'm like, what am I going to look like on stage? Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Blocks, BLOCKS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BLOCKS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so you did what? Coke was your drug?
Yeah, I like the Coke and the drinking and the pot. And,
How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel like the sort of stereotypical ways?
I don't know, man. I just knew that, like if I really think about, like, when I was living on the Lower East Side, this is during the Luna Lounge days.
This is the early mid-90s.
Yeah, because Luna was like on a Monday or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I just I remember going to the Coke dealers and just getting a gram. When it was still light out.
How much is that?
It was like $100. It was
right, but how much?
It's a gram of Coke.
I don't know. I've only seen it.
It doesn't seem like a lot. It's maybe like sort
of like in the little rubber
like a
band
tablespoon.
Okay.
No, it's like a what do you call it? A heavy tablespoon-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a ton. That might even be more than it.
Yeah. I wish they did it a tablespoon.
They should.
And a teaspoon.
You can. It'd be easier.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sort of like, it's like 4 or it's maybe like 2 or 3 sugar packets.
Okay.
But I just remember getting it and then going to the bar at the Avenue B and 7th and just getting a pint of Bass after doing a few rails at his house and just being like, this is the best. It wasn't even like, where are we going? There was just possibility. There was like my brain. It had a sort of a Ritalin effect. I was jacked, but I was like, like everything's okay,
Yeah.
But then it just gets bad. You can't hold on to that. And, and you don't really know how you're acting. You don't really know, how you're coming off.
You probably don't care either, right?
I think I kind of
don't care how you're.
I just thought I was like exciting, and it was like it gave me like just reacting to what you said earlier. Like I don't know that I am fundamentally angry. I don't think that's the deepest layer of me. I think I'm oversensitive and weirdly terrified of failure in all ways, including socially. And I think the anger thing happened after my first heartbreak, and I just kind of learned how to wear that. But I think ultimately I'm a hypersensitive person that I'm terrified of being embarrassed, but it happens a lot. I think that was another thing I got from my mother. She was embarrassing, my mother, the way she'd order at restaurants, the way she'd sexualize everything. So I think the anger came from it was after, but I think the Coke gave me what I felt was some sort of genuine confidence. And I think that what was annoying about me, even with you and those comments, was that was some sort of insecure swagger.
Well, that's what the thing I noticed about you is like, dude, you're fucking really astute.
Yeah.
Just stop turning it on people that like you.
Yeah.
Just
hey, man,
turn
preemptive, man.
I know, but it's like, what? I'm fucking hands up. I like you.
I know. Well, that was, I guess, in when you have bad boundaries, the way you establish them is not great.
Right. It's you got to shank. It's prison logic.
Psychological prison logic.
Yeah. So it came from fear.
I just feel like I just didn't have a sense of self until fairly recently.
What's funny is it's like but you haven't really changed that much.
I know. Like it's weird. When at some point, like a decade ago or so, I was watching my old stuff thinking like, I can't watch it. And I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, what am I thinking? What's going on up here to where like, I don't even know who that guy is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
They're the same guy.
I'm still embarrassed, but it's like, and it's true.
I was less embarrassed though. It was helpful.
Yeah, it's not as embarrassing as you think.
Totally not. I'm like, I was just trying jokes. They weren't bad.
Yeah. So the thing I think about is your age and the distribution of parental attributes.
Yeah.
Are you optimistic about relationships?
I don't know, man.
Your part in them, I would say.
I
ask obviously because I have my own thoughts.
Well, I think like in doing the homework for this show in terms of blocks, that whatever they are, after a certain point, you negotiate with yourself as much as you can around what is possible for yourself in terms of these things, right? Like it's like in the program, the character defects. Like I always used to say, like, well, that's an option. You can remove them. Ask for them to be removed. It's up to you. You can hold on to them. I mean, there's a liability to that, but as long as you're not drinking, whatever. But like the idea of victim disposition or ongoing therapy forever. That at some point you got to realize, like, it's like that joke I used to do. When you get older and you go to therapy, it's like, look, I realize you can be straight with the therapist. Say like, there are some things we're just not going to be able to unfuck. But if we can deal with the things that I think I can approach now, and I think there's a truth to that. So I don't know about relationships. I don't know what I expect anymore. Having lost somebody that was close to me. And that was going pretty well. But, obviously even then, I thought I had hope there. But then again, I don't know what I'm looking for. What is it? Like, I'm not going to have kids. I'm not going to get married again. It's clearly, I have an emotional liability. I know I can feel that there is something to opening your heart and connecting with another person in that way and talking about it and really letting your guard down, and possibly, crying for a while and sharing that with somebody else. I can see how that, might feel good for a day or two. Right? I mean, I don't think anybody lives in that. I think it's one of those weird baptisms of intimacy where you kind of lay it out and you open up and you have that as a foundation for your thing.
Like, here's my document. Here's my statement. Here's like
here's my soul.
CV. Here's my emotional CV. Yeah.
I don't know. I've grown to sort of accept that I might be a little, I don't know if it's paralyzed, but I don't know that I have the proper expectations out of relationships. And then I start to realize, like, well, what is normal? What isn't? We kind of talked about this the other night in relation to, sex or whatever. Is that, it's sort of up to you after a certain point. I mean, there are these status quo stuff about what's expected. Oh, it's about kids, and what other people are doing. But, as you get older, you're like, that doesn't look great. You know, and then you sort of have to reframe, sort of like, well, maybe I wasn't totally wrong, and I can accept what I'm not getting by the decisions I'm making, and if I can live with that, you know, fuck it, right? Am I satisfied? Or like, it's the same with God. Like these people are like, I'm just looking for something. Like, I never was looking for that.
For a God.
Yeah. Whatever that drives people to have this sort of like, I just, you know, I'm like, yeah.
As a person, you can't come to many conclusions in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You get everything is conditioning and like, here's the status quo, here's the norm.
Yeah, totally.
You can't fucking think straight.
No.
So I've never even heard someone say I wasn't looking for God. I didn't even know you were allowed to not be looking for God.
Yeah, I think it's like, I understand it. Like, I understand it from the program. I understand the idea of powerlessness. I understand, you know, and I can sort of frame that in a way where I realize that, you know, almost everything is out of my control. I can get that without being terrified. You know, no, I think the idea is that, like, when you realize, like, hey, I'm powerless in almost everything, that's terrifying. And you know, you might as well put the power
you know what
in
else
place.
terrifying? I'm powerful.
Well, yeah, but
in certain
that
aspects.
breaks down. Yeah, that breaks down. But I'm just saying that, like, that's the gap. That's the God-shaped hole. And people have come at me with that thing, and because I have a certain amount of vulnerability when you see past the anger or the sadness or whatever. But like, I'm okay if I keep eating and distract myself. You know, maybe it'll all bite me in the ass, but I don't know really what to expect out of relationships. I'm in one now that is sort of evolved into something kind of sweet, and I've grown to really love this person, and I get a kick out of her. You know, but I always feel that they're kind of doomed. She is younger than me by a lot, and you know that, like,
Who isn't?
Right, that's true.
I mean, that's what you get to. It's like
it is, and I never noticed it till now.
Than me.
Yeah, you're like, well,
I'm 10 years younger than you. So what I'm saying is, but I've always had the thing. Every woman I've ever dated is older than me, even if they're younger than me.
Yeah.
In an emotional arena,
yeah,
women are like the knowledgeable ones.
Yeah.
And they, even if they haven't had a lot of relationships, they've had a lot of emotional connections with people. So I always assume, even if a girl's younger than me, like, the joke I never did, but like, I could fuck a 25-year-old and be like, you shouldn't be doing this to me, lady.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble for this. Like, because they're gonna
get emotionally attached. Yeah, I think I didn't really know that as much as I do now. Like, that there is sort of like, you know, because, you know, I've been a compulsive sex person. You know what I mean? It's like, it's sort of what I grew up thinking you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
My dad was sort of a philandering fuck. And, you know, when I was coming up in the world, I mean, it was all sort of like weirdly, it wasn't porn, but it was, you know, the roles, the sexual roles were very defined.
And they were like porn adjacent.
They're porn adjacent, but like the access to porn, you know, is insane.
Right.
It just breaks brains.
Yes.
But the idea that, you know, what you're working for is to fuck.
Yeah.
You know, that was there. It's always been there. You know, It's like you go, you know, you want pussy, right? That's what you're doing. And I was never that great at it. It took a long time. High school was not successful sexually in high school, and it took a long time for me to get the hang of it.
And then when you can, it's hard not to gorge. You think you're supposed to.
Of course. But you have to have enough game to do it. There are plenty of guys that want to gorge, you can't. So if you're sort of cursed but blessed with the ability to get laid, yeah, you have to reckon with the thing. And you
just have to make decisions.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what I need my own sort of ethics around this.
But the truth is, it's like, you know, my empathy, it took a long time for my empathy to come around to realize that, you know, most women, and I think a lot of men too, are not just out to fuck. You know, and you know, it's always going to be weird. And there's going to be kind of emotional repercussions for somebody.
Yeah. That runs contrary to the one-day soul exchange.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning, you're like, but I don't just want to fuck. I want to fuck and then have a one-day.
That's good. Well, yeah, but then you do that, then you're really in trouble. Because if you do that, like, oh, we did the soul thing and we did the fuck thing, I'm good.
I think you mean they're really in trouble. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. I just, I wish on some level, like, I think that it's a major block that I have this thing that I think that I've become, I don't know if it's cynical or shut down or not. I don't believe that I'm gonna let it go. And obviously,
You don't believe you're going to let what go?
I'm going to let my guard down that much or allow myself to have that soul exchange.
Why not?
Because I don't know, man.
You did with Lynn.
I think it was coming. It was happening naturally. There was a lot in place there, but a lot of times, like, I find myself with women who are sort of, completely enamored with me. It's that joke I'm doing now. It's like, I'm not looking for younger women. I'm an all, I'll take all legal ages kind of guy. It's whoever's most obsessed with me.
Yeah.
But it's not true all legal ages. We got to get,
Look,
can't.
there's some caveats.
Sure. Like the woman I'm with now is 34 and some women gasp at that. I'm like, really? 34? I mean,
34 for a woman is like 45 for a guy.
Well, it's weird because I do find that emotionally, I'm very comfortable with her and I don't know why. And I'm trying to figure it out and it's not bad. But like, she's really a kind of no frills kind of person, just a kind of a Midwestern, like straight shooter and got a good heart. And I find myself relaxed emotionally around her. And I think I am emotionally, pretty young.
Okay. You don't have a God-shaped hole.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have a relationship-shaped hole. What's the drive?
It's just like, I just want to feel better. I know peace of mind.
When people go, what are your career goals right now? I was like, most of my goals now are emotional.
Yeah.
Most of my goals are like, I just want to feel nice and good.
Yeah. And I want to learn how to truly enjoy stuff without being full of dread and panic and expectation and codependency. Like I'm a double winner kind of guy, which is, I'm equally codependent as I am, addictive,
Yeah.
And, I don't, I have to stop that shit.
Codependency?
Yeah.
Well, that's the hard part about codependency is I, too, am codependent and done a lot of work with it.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know the difference between a boundary and a wall.
Yeah. I think that's sort of me because you have, without knowing it, you have so much invested in people that you might not even know that well. And they all of a sudden have this amazing control over you, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
And, it's like, it's weird and it can hurt a lot, when you don't have a proper boundary. So working on that stuff is like, I try to do that, but I also have a very active monster, like you were saying, that like, there's this other part of me that's like, a full grown, monster,
the petty guy? Or
the petty guy, the sort of like,
yeah.
petty guy, pervy guy, hungry guy, you know what I mean? So there's sort of like, I have to reckon with who I really am, in this body that's still occupied by, sad pussy guy, doormat guy, and fucking monster man. So like, I just have to, get everybody.
Who's the doormat guy?
Well, the doormat guy is the guy that, proposed to a mentally ill person. After I had to sort of, when I broke up with her, I ended up in, all male Al-Anon meetings for, months, just trying not to engage.
Al-Anon is a 12-step group around codependency.
And I
codependency meaning like you're addicted to people, and a lot of times they are addicts or mentally ill.
Right. I have that because like both of my parents.
Did you get married to her?
No. You remember her. It was that one that, everybody knew that she was a little weird.
Oh, I didn't know you got engaged.
Well, yeah, I broke up with her. Then we, for 3 months, I was just Al-Anoning and like not calling. And then she found a fucking crack. And before I know it, like I bought her a fucking ring and I'm like, let's do it. And she wanted, and I couldn't even understand who that guy was, but it's there because, and it's also the core to the success of my podcast is my immediate ability to enmesh with people and feel their feels. You know what I mean? And it's also the core of what you're saying about my intuition. It's because I was wired by emotionally needy, manipulative people that did not know how to be selfless, did not know how to allow space emotionally for children, did not know how to raise children or be them, or act appropriately themselves.
So they end up raising a very sensitive,
a guy who doesn't have a sense of self.
Meter. It's of many different. It can measure many different things.
Like you come from that.
Totally.
But,
and I can measure anger. I can measure power.
Like immediately. I know you have it because like sometimes you see me and you're like, not even gonna. Like you just register a vibe as I walk in the hallway. You're like, all right. I'm like that too, dude. There's sometimes like I can see from 50 feet, I can feel, I'm like, I gotta ditch, I gotta get out of this hallway. It's helpful when you do comedy too, because like you can hear a room before you go on and you're like, back corner stage right, that whatever's that thing back there.
Yep.
I'm
gonna fixate. I'm gonna fixate,
and also might be trouble.
Like trouble. Hey, and you go talk to the doorman. Are you keeping your eye on them?
Exactly. But not everyone.
And by the way, we're right a lot of the time.
Yeah, totally.
That's the crazy part. Is you're sensitive to it, and then what do you? So I'm in a position where. I mean, recently things have happened where like I've said to a woman, I was like, I think you're more into this than you're letting on. And she denied it. Like, what are you talking about? And then 2 weeks later, she was like, I think you were right. Like, which is gratifying.
But a sad story.
Right. But like, so again, I have to worry about my codependency. You have to worry about your codependency. So it makes every relationship like...
But also have to worry about the other side of it too.
Of course.
Which is, kind of like not, being sensitive to people's feelings, objectifying people. Like there's that.
Yeah, we have a very sensitive meter that is either on or off.
But also like I just had this realization in talking to you in that like just now where like that sensitivity feels like empathy, but I'm not sure that it is until you sort of kind of, tweak it a little bit. Like I definitely enmesh with people and I can feel them, but I'm not sure it's the same as empathy. I'm
trying to think of an example. The thing that made me think of it, there was a time you said something about my father and it was like, and it was like, Maron, it was shitty. Why take that knowledge? You're in the same boat and you're using it as a fucking knife.
Yeah, you're just so sensitive. Yeah,
like it's like, but you're right in that. Like you sense it, you fucking immediately intuit it. I can do it. We can do it all the time with almost everybody. But it's just a matter of, do I use it as like
you're not supposed to use it as a weapon.
That also.
Yeah. A guy one time said to me in program early on, like I was like 9 minutes sober, and I was so excited that I told to my wife that I was having an affair, because the woman who got me sober, I had an affair with her and I ended up being with her for years. But I remember I was so proud of myself for being honest. And some old guy, famous playwright, like he comes up to me and he's like, that's not being honest. Using honesty as a weapon is not what that means. That is not what honesty means.
Yeah. And you're like, what?
Yeah. I'm like, what? Yeah.
When did they decide that? I'm pretty sure it is.
I remember it and it's true.
Yeah.
But like also you kind of frame it in comedy terms too. That's why I could never do roasts because, I would do roast jokes and people would be like, wow. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Like, Jesus, man, we're having fun here.
Nope.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing of like having the sensitivity. And you had a joke about dying alone, that thing about the Caribbean woman.
Oh yeah,
let go, dude. It's fucking hilarious.
It's okay, baby.
So that idea of, are we gonna die alone, preoccupied with ourselves? And by the way, Mark, based on that joke, not the worst scenario you can imagine.
No, like if you save your money and put a little, if you have enough for somebody to take care of you, there's it's almost like a gift. I wish my father would let us put someone in the house so his poor wife could have some time. Yeah, I don't know about all that, but it's creeping up pretty quickly, and I try not to be too terrified about it all.
The terror would be of what's after?
No, just about. Like I would think about the other day that the moment of death and after, like the idea of negation, it's a weird thing to take on, that you enter the timeless. We know so many people have died now.
Yeah, I did ayahuasca and DMT in the last 2 years, and I haven't really shut the fuck up about it. But I've had some big experiences and
that make you at peace with dying, or make you think there's something more.
It makes me think like, oh no, this is just like this is just one thing,
right? This is just
that
this
I'm experiencing
vessel.
now. Yeah. I mean, like as hacky and everything as it is, it's like I would bet money, at this point based on the experiences I've had.
Okay.
But that doesn't make
fine.
it right for you. Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that.
But at the same time,
it'd be nice to be well cared for, and I think that if the one good thing about saving money or hoping that you're in the position to have it, you can maybe be well cared for.
Yeah. What do you care how do you picture it in terms of visitors?
I don't know if anybody really wants to visit me. Like I think that like over time, whether I'm nice Mark or not nice Mark, or that I'm not like I'm intense, and I don't get the feeling that people really want me around personally. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't get invited many places. It's like I'm just one of these guys, because of our sensitivity, you must be the same way. I don't know, that I can say or do one little thing that I thought was innocuous and it can destroy something, a friendship or whatever, But I don't know. Like I like visitors. I like to talk to people. I don't know that I don't get the feeling.
Well, what's funny is the podcast is it's an empathy station.
Yeah, it's like that's the bulk of my social life is meeting people and talking to them for an hour and then never talking to them again, but being excited that they remember me at big events.
Right, but I would also argue that like a podcast of a certain type is a very high form of communication.
No, it's great.
And you wouldn't have the conversation with the person at a dinner party.
No, of course
it's
not.
more like the soul exchange thing.
It's like, it's weird. It's like a first date. That's where I'm getting it, thank God. But also to what I just said, like, I don't know why I think those things. That's another block. Why do I assume I have this liability, this social weirdness? I mean, the truth is everyone's old now. They got lives. Some people are reemerging from raising kids, from having children and raising them and stuff. But everyone's got a life after a certain point. And if you didn't lock in with them early on, and you weren't part of their life now, then it's not gonna happen now.
Yeah.
But also when Lynn died, when my partner passed away, I don't know what I'm in and out of that word partner. When my girlfriend passed away, like, dude, everybody showed up.
For you or her?
For me. I mean, they called, they came, they sent food. I mean, so many people in our community.
Yeah.
Like that I wouldn't have ever imagined that, because it was, it was in the press. But like everybody, man, like, people who who I wasn't even that close to, fucking, I don't know Jay Leno.
Yeah.
He called me, like just say, hey, tough thing, But it was sweet, and everybody I really felt cared for, and I felt like we were a community, and I like feeling that. But as I
agree. I think we are sometimes, we aren't sometimes.
Well, that's the thing now that there's a divided sense to it, and I probably add to that. But I think that after a certain point, people become bigger than just your peer. When they have a social impact, and if you're a person that talks about cultural things, you roll the dice. But now there does seem to be a division. But even ones in the sort of dubious camp, I don't have problems with them.
Yeah,
there's like two that I can't deal with.
Right, but I would also argue like that people would
show up.
Yeah, people would show up, but it's also, I think they're two different things.
Yeah.
Meaning like your partner, if that's what she was.
Yeah.
Your partner dies suddenly is like real shocking.
Yeah.
And public and pronounced and like, fuck. And it's very easy to put yourself in that position. To put yourself as the you and you go, fuck, I got to call him. And if you're dying.
It's trickier, huh? Because that implies someone else is dying. And they have to be comfortable enough to go see him.
It's like, I don't want to put myself in that position.
I won't go see him.
Yeah.
Sounds fucked up.
Yeah.
I've been that guy. And maybe that's the karma.
People don't, well, yeah, and I feel like you'd accept the karma.
Yeah.
But I also don't think whether people, the question is, am I cared for or not?
Yeah.
Or am I cared about?
Yeah.
And I think you may value cared about more than cared for.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, because I think that's sort of the way it goes. I mean, that's the way I was brought up. Like I wouldn't rely on my parents for anything, any kind of emotional support ever.
Yeah.
As a grown person, or most of my life, it was always loaded and, a stretch for them.
Yeah, it's funny that I remember when I first started like dealing with other people at the houses or whatever, when I saw people, hey, you need anything from the kitchen? And I was like, what? Because in my house, it was like, get it yourself. Faggot is what they would say. That's what the direct quote would have been. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll believe it. Maybe I won't. That's how we talk to each other.
Yeah. My parents were just bad at it, and it was always about them. But, it was just, but yeah, that's interesting. Cared for. I don't believe it. I don't believe that people care for me. That's another sort of part of that intimacy thing, is like when people are like, you really mean a lot to me. I believe this girl, but I don't generally believe it totally. And I always think it was because like maybe it's my own self-image, but it's like, it's loaded, man. My parents were like, they were supposed to care, and I don't know.
By the way, there's a lot of responsibility for you.
Yeah.
If someone cares about you.
Yeah, that's when the codependency walks in.
Yeah. So you have to decide, like, look, if I even take a step toward you, it's fucking full on.
It could be crazy. But I'm sort of managing that right now. Okay, I'm not losing my mind with that stuff, and I'm trying to sort of stay focused. It's easy for me to be nice to this woman and do nice things for her and make her life better, and that feels good.
Yeah.
And
do you still do 12-step shit?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to sober guys, and I have sober conversations with people. I haven't gone to a meeting in a long time, and I couldn't do the Zoom meetings. It would be good to go, but I think like the last time we talked about it pre-pandemic, like I think I need a different recovery. I don't feel like AA meetings are fine, and they keep it fresh, and and I get emotional about sobriety and hearing people's stories, but like I think like something that deals with different stuff, love addiction, Al-Anon stuff, or like ACOA, Adult Children of Lunatics, that kind of stuff. I think I haven't really engaged it, but I think this is also a big problem. It's like with the opening the heart, going to the meeting, taking steps to sort of resolve some of this stuff, going on vacation, doing things that bring me joy. It's sort of like, it's I got to drive over, and you know what I mean? It's like the anxiety stops me. And it's not fear of those things. It's literally like, I got to get up and where is this?
Yeah, it's dread.
Yeah.
By the way, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
It's that I just have to get there.
It's not even bad.
I have to travel tomorrow, and I'm like, ugh. But I'm, and I travel all the time, but like until I get on the plane.
But you just go, it's gonna, and then it's like TSA's 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. And then you'll be at the
and
place,
then you're
and
in the
it's
airport,
fine.
and then you get on, and you fall asleep,
and then right, and then I freak out about the cats. The other thing with the cats, like, that's another block. Is like, I almost didn't sell my old house because I had a cat that lived outside, and I didn't know what he would do.
You couldn't just fucking scoop him and bring him.
Yeah, he's not an indoor cat.
But he could be from Glendale to
maybe, but
Eagle Rock or wherever.
I don't know. He ended up disappearing. But it was just like that's
typical.
Yeah, okay. That's how weird I am with that stuff. Like,
well, that's codependency.
Totally codependence with it. I'm freaking out about. You don't know what I put these cat sitters through. Put my girlfriend through with nuts.
Were you the caretaker for your parents?
No, they're alive.
Right? No. But I mean, as a kid,
not really.
I guess it's just the chaos of the being.
It's just a detachment. It was just the lack of emotional decision making.
Where does the codependency come from? If you weren't,
my mother. Yeah, my mother.
You were her manager?
I wasn't her manager, but I think with both of them, when you have to react to them emotionally, where they weird out or they yell or they do something shitty, and then they're like, come in 5 minutes later and apologize, or they don't make decisions. Like, it was just this interface with this inconsistency that I constantly had to sort of manage and adapt to, you know.
Yeah, it's funny because most of the time it's violence. That's the thing that like.
My dad was pretty explosive because but like he wasn't beating me up, but he was scary.
Yeah. So yeah, you get real good at
unpredictable.
Yeah, at managing, and then it's preemptive, and it's a joke I've never been able to do, which is I leave most interactions going, did I hurt their feelings or did they hurt my feelings? Like it, you know what I mean? Like
at some point, I think it had something to do with doing comedy. Like I had to figure out a way of self-ownership. I was always sort of precocious and out in front of it and wanting attention and stuff. And I think my dad was jealous of me early forever, and that he had to win something because I had something he didn't have. I can't even explain.
Comedy or just charisma or a good brain,
just something.
Yeah.
And my mother, I think, also had weird feelings of being threatened by me, and I think that me being me maturing as a comic had something to do with me being able to be like, fuck them, fuck both of them. Seriously, I don't see them as parents. They're these people I grew up with that had problems. I have a relationship with both of them. It's fine, but fuck them. I don't know them anything. Thank God I got money. If I can help that way, good. But oddly, I'm going to see my mother tomorrow. It's going to be terrible. She's okay. But like after an hour, what the fuck you do? For 3 days, I'm down there. So I don't stay with her. I'm going to go, and my brother's down there. But it's like I do what the menschy thing to do is.
Right.
And it's not terrible. It's okay. And if it makes them happy, fine.
It's like candy striping. Yeah. Like going and hanging out with old people.
It's hard, it's sad and it's weird and it's been revealing in a way. It's hard. I think it's a natural course of things.
You ever think about what you would have been like had you been born when they were born?
Oh boy. What,
like the decisions you would have made.
In the 30s, you mean?
Yeah, because like my parents, born in 30 and 33, it's like, you just get married and you go to law school and you just like, you don't even ask yourself once, and hey, do I want this?
It was not the way it worked.
Or am I going to have any talent for this?
That's how powerful the status quo was.
Yeah, the status quo, and then you're ended up, it's just everybody making bad, reacting to something.
They didn't know what to do.
It's like, just overreact better. That's all like, that's like human progress.
I speak to all this on, in the act. I've always spoken about it. It's like, that's that thing. It's like, I've done different versions of it about spending time with my mother. Like it was about buying a house with an extra room in case she wanted to come out. And then she came out once. I'm like, she's got to go. I can't have her here.
We seal that room off.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's just sort of like after an hour, you have the same fucking conversation where it always ends with, but you didn't do the best you can. We just admit it. You didn't do the best you can.
Yeah. Did they admit it yet?
Sure.
Did they?
She admits it, yeah. She said, well, I didn't know what I was doing. She said some awful things, my mother, like that are so great. Like the two that really stand out. And these, as a grown-up, she goes, Mark, if you were fat, I don't know if I'd know if I could love you. That one.
Yeah.
And then like the better one was similar, but it was not that long ago. She was like just kind of being candid and like, when you were a baby, I don't think I knew how to love you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, that's helpful.
Yeah, that's okay. That fills in a lot of.
Yeah, there's the piece.
Yeah.
But she also used me as her best friend because my dad was like out fucking everything that moved and being a doctor. And my mom just sort of like, you're the thing. So I've got that thing. But I didn't turn out to be like a mama's boy. But I did get her emotional trip, her sarcasm, her eating disorder, her, emotional sort of like inabilities. Like I got all that because, she attached herself to me.
All right. So you don't believe in a God?
Yeah, I don't think about it too much. Should I?
Well, what are you thinking about?
Like I'm thinking about things I got to do. I'm thinking about things I got to eat. I'm thinking about like I'm reading books about culture and about, the world I live in. I'm thinking about birds. I like to sit on my porch. I do feel a sort of peace with nature and stuff, and I feel better about that stuff. Not eating them. I'm hearing you talk, and I'm like, we're similar
swamp. I think the thing, looking at you, I wish I was more accepting of how niche I am.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I wish I was more like, just like
I
like when people go like, I love my birds and I love that. I don't even think about God, like, but I'm like, I should be. It's all these shoulds.
I don't do that. I do that with comedy more than I do. I still do that with show business, which annoys me. It really annoys me.
Yeah.
That like, because like I've done okay. I've done well. But like there's some part of my ego that doesn't feel like it's getting, the respect I deserve. Like I want an award. And I still have that weird resentful thing that other people make me feel. I let their success make me feel small, or that I don't. Whereas like when I do it with my producer, he's like, dude, you won. I mean, what do you want? Like, I've got my audience and I've got, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But there's always sort of this other tier that I'm just not.
Well, you said something interesting one time, which was, I asked you about Louis and you were like, Louis's level of fame. It might have even been before his stuff, but like, you were like, I've come to think I don't think I could have handled it,
no.
or it wouldn't have been right for you.
No, I don't think I could have. I mean, oddly, I think now, in terms of my comfort with myself, I could handle whatever comes. But I don't think I was destined for that. Like right now, like I'm as funny as I'm going to be, and I've got the audience I have, and and I'm out there. I don't know what makes somebody bigger. I don't know if it's just the magic of Dave Becky and Mike Berkowitz that delivers somebody to arenas. I don't know that I'd want to do an arena, but I could certainly handle, I think, a larger fan base, but it's just not my destiny. I think I'm too specific.
I'm in the same boat, and it's like...
there's a lot of things that aren't relatable about us.
Right. Yeah.
Except to like-minded people or people that live our lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can't speak to that grown-ups
And there's
with.
like an essential thing. Like we have sharp cheek, but just, you know what I mean? Like just...
Like we don't fit into the frame
Yeah,
properly.
like it's just physiognomy where it's like, he seems...
Not quite good on camera.
Yeah, like he just seems like...
Little off.
elbowy or something.
I get it.
It's these things where you go, okay, this is an interesting...
Nothing I can do about it.
Right. And I had said this to Hassan Minaj, which was like, what are the odds that you'd beat this existence if you spun a wheel? In 8 million lives, how many people are better doing... How many people? What are we, 800? Couple thousand people on Earth.
Better at what?
More people in wheelchairs than great comics.
Right. No, I get it.
Okay, so this is a question I always ask people. You may find aggravating. Biopic, a Marc Maron biopic. Who plays you? What's the arc? You can be a self-congratulatory.
I don't know actors. I don't know the spectrum of actors, of young actors.
It's Shia LaBeouf. Let's go Shia LaBeouf.
Well, he'd have to tone it down a little bit, but I think he could do it a little bit. What's the arc? What would I like?
Yeah, what was this?
Like, I think there's something about whatever was going on at the Comedy Store in the 80s with Kennison and the drugs and stuff. And, because like I recently put on Instagram these two pictures. There's a picture of me at the store with Sam, lit. I'm out of my mind on drugs, with my arm around him, and he's like, and there's a little Polaroid.
Did you have an actual relationship with him?
No, I wasn't on the inner circle, but I was certainly a drug buddy for a while.
Okay.
Because I lived in Crest Hill, and that's where I was like, he'd just go up there. He used it as a party house.
Right.
And I was the guy that he'd give money to get things set up. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
But never the inner circle, and, but there's a picture of me and him, and then I put that next to the picture of me and Obama in my garage, and I'm like, that arc is pretty good.
Yeah. What is it?
What's the story?
What's the arc, though? You have a want, then you get a need
it's touch and go, dude. I don't know that that's it. I think what happens is, I'm running on this sort of like angry, insecure swagger, and I'm busting through, and I think I'm getting somewhere, but ultimately no one can quite get a handle on me.
And you kind of know you're not breaking through. Like it's not.
Well, I'm just like, I know that that I'm not myself.
Yeah, the tone isn't quite right.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone's sort of like, oh, you're the cranky guy. I'm like, this is who I am. It's not a character. Like I have no control over it. That was the weird thing.
And you don't even believe you're the cranky guy.
No, of course not. I'm just me, man. I'm telling the truth here.
Yeah.
So the arc is like just what it takes to humble that fucker.
And what is it?
It was just a process of sort of failure, of having, people knowing who I am, fighting to get known, but never building an audience. And then ultimately, ending up, having to sober up, ending up having to give up on life a first time, but then meeting a beautiful woman, then having to get sober and then ruining that relationship. And then sort of like the comedy opportunities kept coming, but nothing happens. I'm scrambling to make a living. I do Air America. I do a fucking radio show. You think that was like my dream? I mean, it ultimately ended up, teaching me how to talk on these mics, but that was a default, dude. I had nothing going on, and they had a lot of money that they were throwing away to get people to do this. It wasn't like this is my passion. It was like, I don't think I have a choice. I just got married. I'm living in LA. I got nothing on the table. These deals didn't go anywhere. So anyways, the humbling of that second divorce.
What's especially humbling about that?
She just left, and she should have. I was a dry drunk, emotionally abusive fuck, and I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I was totally afraid she was going to leave me. She was stunning. And, and I believe I loved her, but I was just horrible. I was possessive and crazy, and I was trying to be good, but and she got out, and I'd never had that happen to me. That was just devastating because she got Al-Anon'd up. I think she got, involved with somebody more emotionally supportive and proper. And she left, and it was for good. And it was devastating. It was just mind-numbing and heartbreaking.
And it was the finally thing like, oh, it's me.
Well, I don't know if I quite realized that. I was still fighting to get it back. But that sent me spiraling. I mean, then she, kind of really hired a lawyer to destroy me, and I didn't understand how she deserved the house. I bought the house. We weren't, you know what I mean? And I ended up, you lose. You always lose. You learn a lot of lessons. And I get it all now, but no, at the time I didn't know it was me. I was trying to be better, but then I almost went broke, and she just, and that's out of that came the podcast, and then
the podcast is it's like a rock bottom.
Totally,
it's like a rock bottom that ended up being like
there's nowhere else to go. I was looking down the barrel of a life as a hustling B-room headliner, or a real barrel, with a gun, and I just started talking on that, then it all came, I'd gone back to Air America to do a streaming video show, with the agreement that they would give me enough money up front to stop the hemorrhaging of the divorce, and I got more skills, and it timed out right. So then there was that, and that starts, and then then there's the next humbling of, Lynn dying. So which was.
What was the humbling of that? Meaning, it's not a career one. What's the, what
well,
was
just
the,
I don't know. I don't look at it as punishment, but, Mishna leaving me was because I think I might've been a little borderline personality, it was very black and white thinking. I was very sort of like, why me? How can this, how do I, and it was just, it just destroyed me for a long time. And so then when Lynn died, it was a whole different thing. That's a different kind of leaving. And it's I'm older, and I know we're fragile, and I know I've seen people die, but you don't expect that. I really didn't expect my wife to, when I came home, sit me down and go I want a trial separation. I never saw her again, really. And I certainly didn't expect Lynn to get sick and die. So it's just the depth of heartbreak of those two different types. I mean, fuck, dude. So I don't know what the third act is.
But who were you before Lynn died, and who were you after? In terms of what was your outlook?
I thought it worked out. The career worked out. I met this woman.
That's what's funny from the outside in. I was like, fuck, he had it.
Yeah, right. This is good. I'm going to be good for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And we have respect for each other.
Yeah.
The work, and, we can work together even, and, conversationally and all this stuff. She was, a grown-ass woman.
Yeah.
I had hope for the future and was excited about the possibilities and proud to be with her. And then, so you grieve, like, whatever the possibility. So who am I after? I don't know. I'm not great. I'm pretty, I don't feel like I'm actively cynical, but I've certainly might still be numb somehow.
Yeah. Because you don't seem pessimistic. You don't seem.
I didn't ask why. I didn't see it as personal. I didn't, there was no why me. I was very clear on that. Like, I didn't want to be seen as the victim. Yeah, and which might be bad in getting back to
No, I don't think it's bad. I don't think that's bad. It's like
she was the victim, and I felt terrible about that, and and I was leveled, but it has something to do with the love for, and what was it that like, I'm comfortable with people loving, not
caring about you, but not caring for you.
Yeah.
But she cared for you and cared.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying, in the aftermath, I kind of, I definitely couldn't keep it together, and I was happy to be supported. But I just wanted to be clear that, like, there was no reason it happened cosmically. I was not angry at God because I have enough practical sense of death after losing, several of our peers, and and knowing that, it's all sort of a gift somehow, or luck. But I certainly didn't see it coming. And that was what made it just terrible. It was just a similar feeling of the type of loneliness and the type of pain of being that out of control. Like, she died. I mean, and it was during the COVID. It was just terrible. But I don't know who I am now, but I'd like to say that I have a deeper appreciation of life in a lot of ways, and an acceptance of death in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a weird compliment, but you handled it well. You grieved well. You didn't seem to make any, like, unforced errors about the interpretation of it, or what it meant, because it doesn't always mean anything.
No, I really had to, like, manage my brain about that. I had a lot of things to do. I didn't know her family, and I had all her stuff, and I had the keys to the new place she had just rented, and nobody was traveling. There was a lot of responsibilities that had to be dealt with, to be in touch with people and to get things places, and to, her car sat in front of my house for weeks, and, her clothes, and, like, there's a lot of practical stuff that had to be dealt with. My brother came out, and then I tried to get out of town, and tried to have some sort of. I tried to keep myself in her eyes, in her gaze, because I think I was probably, like, I was at my best, in terms of, the way she saw me, and what she saw in me was really the best of me. So I tried to keep hold of that, but I think it might be slipping. But that's all right.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it's like inside you, but
yeah,
it's not. There's also something to be said for my sister's husband died, and she said, I didn't know if I would be able to care for somebody, and I could. And that's what I thought when you were saying about, like, doing all this stuff.
Oh yeah, well, that's where the codependency comes in handy. No, I mean, like, you want to help, and it was genuine, and I think I can care for people probably more now. Because I think the one thing you left with is, like, did I do the short time that we were able to be together, was I really the best that I could have been? So, like, that, if anything, it's not a regret thing. But, she just, got sick, and I thought it was the flu. And, that week, I was sort of like, oh my God, when is she going to get better? Like, what is it? And then, like, she gets sick and died. Like, you kind of feel shitty. Like, all right, I'll bring you some cereal, Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, right. But that's how we are with people who get sick, So, like, there's that little stuff. So, like, I don't know. It made life very clear. And it also, made me more attentive, I think, of myself and others. But it's, like, devastating.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
It's like here's some more. Here's a little something for your empathy engine.
That's right. Like my producer said something along the lines of like, well, that's it. You've got your stripes somehow.
Yeah.
Like nothing is going to be this bad.
Yeah.
Again.
I have a theory that like by the time life is over, you will have been every person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now I'm the fucking widower.
Oh God.
Now I'm the cheater. Now I'm the
Sure. That's like, the spectrum of the flaws. How does this wrap up?
I mean, that's the great question, isn't it?